Namaste and welcome to Smt Surya Swapna ji, who is a storyteller and attended our meta retreat at Tiruvannamalai. Thank you so much for joining us today, Surya.
Thank you. Namaste, everybody.
So, what was your experience at the meta retreat meeting other storytellers, and what was your main topic that you addressed during retreat?
Right. So, we tried to bring storytelling to the Indian knowledge system platform and how we could use stories. And there were a bunch of researchers and academicians, as well as storytellers. And I somewhere fall in the bracket of researcher more than a storyteller. However, for my daily work, I use storytelling at a great level. So it was very nice that they had invited me so I could share my experience or my everyday life journey with storytelling as well as in Indian knowledge systems. And there were a variety of people there. Like, I did not expect the kind of crowd that I had met there. So the kind of output that comes is so diverse and I would say something that nobody expected, you know, because the kind of coming together, the collaboration was such. And everybody wanted to share, or everybody looked up for, others' inputs as well. I personally, I was looking up to everybody else who had come, and for whatever reason they called me, I would probably the youngest or the most, um, like attentive person there. I was listening to them, but then it was very nice that they had invited me. I'd come from Indonesia at that time. I used to live at Indonesia. Um, yeah.
Yeah, lovely. You had shared a link about an interview you've done before, and in that I heard about the collaboration with Amar Chitra Katha and the setting up of a center with 64 colors. Could you tell us about that? Even though it may not be active today, it's still such a wonderfully conceptualized idea of reviving a very important part of our knowledge system.
Right. So, way back when I started storytelling, I realized there should be a purpose. I have seen many tellers using stories from other people, other cultures, and I always felt that the stories from your land, the stories that we have grown up listening to, are what matters the most. Like, that's wired to our brain in a very specific way. So you can draw lessons and you can apply them to your context because they're from your culture, they're from your, I would say, ancestors and, like your genes, right? So that's when I started specifically using Indian epics, Puranas, right? So all my stories, whatever be the topic, we could do decision making, stories on leadership, or absolutely just psychology, communication skills. You can pick any topic, but instead of relying on some foreign author, I picked from Puranas and Itihasas. So this was what I had started about 10 years ago, but more specifically from 2017. I could never do anything other than Indian Puranas and Indian Itihasas. I think even till today, my brain is working only in that angle. I can't bring stories from. I have been an avid reader, and I have four more masters apart from my base degree of engineering, and um, I presently research on in Indian stories as well. However, so I only look up to Puranas and Itihasas. There is so much there that I don't look anywhere else. So when at this juncture, when I was doing this work, that is when I was invited to drop an idea. So about again, this is 2018, I think. Yeah. So 2018, I was invited to set up something for children. So to begin with, it was something for children. So I looked at the idea, I looked at the scope, like there was the kind of investment was good, 12 crores. And the branding was Amar Chitra Katha, that
Mm,
part. So in fact, like it's like theme birthday parties, and like I tried to see what are we giving using the name of Amar Chitra Katha
mm,
and the kind of money, and I was given freedom to choose and to plan. I should
mm,
actually thank my investors for that, and they had
mm,
they had the trust, and they gave me the full freedom. So what started off as a possibly a kind of a preschool with storytelling turned
mm,
out into, well, I think also the grace of God, and that's how it was planned, um, by the universe, that I said, let's revive the 64 arts, because it's
mm,
about time that we use it for our practical purposes. Not just the storytelling aspect, but the ancient wisdom itself. How are we going to translate it and put it to daily use? So even now, when somebody comes and says, "Oh, our Sanatana Dharma is great, our Puranas, our Itihasas are great," yes, of course they're great, but how are we using it?
mm,
It comes to everyday. I mean, in the sense of everyday life, if you can put it to
mm,
use, that is when they are great. So in Telugu, or in most of our South Indian languages, we have that, though you have tulsi and other like really nice herbs and plants in your garden, but you never put them to use. What's the
mm,
use of having a
mm,
garden, or even having those herbs around you? So that's exactly what I had planned. And 64
mm,
Arts just, as I said, the universe planned it that way, and it came out. It was just a very
mm,
regular conversation that I had with my investor. That that Krishna Sandipani story, Krishna Valrama going to Sandipani, he caught on to that, and from there we started. And 64 Arts thing came, and we had a wonderful time designing the whole concept. Like, I picked up the best of best mentors from the entire country, and well, I mean, I'm a great ardent devotee of Saraswati. There are so many
mm,
blessed people who have um, so much of knowledge, and some of them are so old. I wanted to get that and give it to the next generation, so that we don't lose it. I'm afraid that we will lose all that kind of wisdom. It's not there on Google. That's
mm,
that is what people think, that everything is on YouTube and Google. No, it's not. It is in the
mm,
gurus, so we have to get it from the gurus. So unfortunately, during the COVID, this had to downsize, and then slowly it went off, faded off. But the idea, I think, still attracts many investors. I am approached
mm,
by more people. We could actually come up with 100 times more venture in future. I
mm,
can't even give you many details at this point. But though that has faded away, I'm being approached to revive such concepts again in the country.
mm.
So very soon we will translate it to youth, and like a vocational training, like we will be bringing it up in a bigger way. 64 Arts is just one aspect. There are so many other kalas and
Yeah.
so many chittas, like your mind has many aspects where you can show your intelligence. Yeah.
So, of these 64 colors, which do you think are the ones that we need to revive and which are no longer being used, like you mentioned, on a day-to-day basis, which are
Mm,
important for a cultural revival?
to begin with, so there are a few categories of it, right? So from each category, if we look at, okay, let us say the fine arts, okay. So fine arts give you that aesthetics in life. Um, Uh, in fact, like if I see the children who are doing arts, the fine arts, it could range the entire fine arts, are happier people. They they have different perspectives to look at the same problem. So what you all talk about, out of box thinking, comes from many more things than just those particular classes that they attend. So When somebody asks me how you have such a great memory or so much of intelligence, it's all because we were trained in fine arts in our childhood. And because of sloka chanting,
Yeah.
because of learning Bhagavad Gita, well, how does it translate into all this? You will know when you start doing it. So let's say the emphasis on fine arts and how you can actually creatively bring it on to and adapt it to your present situation. Like you can use AI, you can use any kind of technology, you can design a game using all those skills of weapons, for example. So, so there's so much more scope because of the technology now. So that's one part. Then let's say diplomacy, communication skills. That's really important at this point of time. When there is no communication at all, sad to say, that's very important. That's also part of fine arts. That's also part of 64 kalas. So this way, there is from every category we can pull up and. In fact, at the beginning, I used to say, let's modernize and adapt. Then I was thinking, no, 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 they're already modernized and adapted to every kind of civilization and time. They're timeless, they're ageless. So everything is relevant. I would say everything is relevant. The kind of knowledge of metallurgy, you can curate so much now because in future the kind of careers, the kind of the startup ventures are in different areas, something that we've never thought of before, right? People just come and design a new startup on something absolutely new. So everything will come from the 64 kalas.
Yeah.
What attracts you, you have to go there at the end of it, of course. Yeah.
So your masters, which are in which areas? Your
So
education.
after my engineering and my IT, I started studying more about sociology, anthropology, and then I also have a master's in English literature because I wanted to know about the nuances of the language. However, I realized that any language, like having a mastery in the aspect of language itself, like the linguistics aspect of it, and how the history comes, and how, let's say it's a poetry, and then you read about the poet and his life and the times that he was. I mean, also the culture and the country that he's from, and how they use cross culturally, how they use other aspects. Um, I mean, a British author using Om Shanti 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 at the end of his wasteland. There are so many things that attracted me. So I did study English literature, but in general literature, I would say. And then I also studied comparative mythology. One of the subjects was Indian mythology.
So when you stayed in Indonesia and you have also studied comparative mythology, what similarities do you find? This one. So could you talk about how your experience in Indonesia, where you could visibly probably see this cultural exchange?
Yes, of course. Yes, yes. So every inch of Indonesia is you can see Ramayana, Mahabharata, and the depiction of asuras, the depiction of devas, and the generic concept of, let us say, the Vedic gods. So they have more of Vedic gods than us because we have moved away from that more into the the Hinduism aspect of it. Whereas the Balinese Hindus are still rooted in the Vedic gods. So everywhere I go, like the Indra depiction, the Varuna, and there's so many statues, and every time the symbols. Um, yeah, you can also find Saraswati in different ways. You can also find, um, like the gods bringing Amrita, Kalasha, and the way Hanuman is depicted, the way the characters, like if in Ramayana we believe Jatayu, was trying to save Sita, and there it is Garuda. So there are few differences that way, and yeah, I really like the way the story progresses with those details of characters. More or less, things are same, but their cultural aspects come in, and it's very interesting how an asura is differentiated from a deva, and in general, that talks about humanity. So the utility of how. Uh, so basically, the divinity lies in utility of how do you help someone, and mm, yeah, the aggression. Hanuman is very aggressive, but a very endearing character again there. So there are few things, yes, but overall, I would say one thing here: it transcends beyond religion. Everybody believes in those characters because they're national heroes. If, for example, you land at Bali airport and you're just stepping out, wherever you go, you have to pass through Gatotkacha statue. It is about the quality of sacrifice. So somebody just asked me very flippantly, they asked me, hey, it's a Rakshasa and these guys are praying to Rakshasa or what? I said, that's all? That's all you could think of looking at that? See, it is Karna versus Gatotkacha. That moment in Mahabharata war, it's crucial. He gave up his life for his uncles and father, and in fact, for the whole society, right? So it is the sacrifice that is being eulogized. It's not about Gatotkacha being a Rakshasa or whatever else, like that. That's too small way of looking at it. So everywhere those values are upheld. And hence, I would say Indonesians are celebrating those values and that kind of, um, our stories, our moral, or um, our heroes. Basically, they are the heroes of our land. And it transcends beyond whether you're Hindu, Christian, or Muslim. And that exactly has to come even here. If in India we can see that, so I mean, that itself changes a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. You also mentioned in the interview that in the story, for instance, the story of Prahlada, that he saved by the elements. So
Yeah, that's
there's a
right. Yeah.
tweaking of stories. So is that deliberate, and why
Yes.
is it? How does it change the narrative?
I'm so glad you asked. So, see, the thing is, I'll tell you, when I started my storytelling in particularly Puranas and Itihasas, I had students from other religions. I did not want to offend anybody because this is no preaching. This is just celebrating humanity, and I want children to learn some kind of, see, every story has a framework where they have intelligently made a lesson told very subtly to the children. When they grow up, they will be able to put to use and have that kind of discretion. What's good, what's bad, what's going to be harmful for me. See, every decision that they make, every thing that they do will have consequences. And it is them who have to face, right? So that is my whoever comes to me, I try to connect with them. First of all, the audience brings these things out of me. And then when I see the very young children or even the older ones who have no knowledge about who the gods are, or probably they don't even care, which is fine. If they can see nature as divinity, well, because the narrative, if you look, in fact, it's good you asked me this aspect also. If you look at all the stories from Puranas, what is it that's desirable from a child, whether a boy or a girl? He has to be useful to the environment. He should not be disrupting the people around him, the society. The society that he lives in, even if they don't get benefited, at least they should not, kind of create any disturbance. So, my My goal always has been to tell children or the young adults, let's say, like starting from cutting the trees to torturing someone and gaining a kind of sadistic pleasure by troubling somebody. This is more than enough. So these are my baby steps for them to understand discrimination in life. And so that is how, when I started looking at stories, for example, Prahlada, if you see all the punishments that he's meted out by his father, these are all generic fears that a little child will have: dark room or some kind of falling off a cliff. So things like that. And then what came to aid? His generic belief that the creator will help me. And where is the creator? In the creation. Dance and dancer, creator and creation, right? So that is my concept, and these are all teachings from my guru that I understand. How do I understand gods and how do I understand spirituality is something that I have learned from my gurus. I am trying to translate it, and using stories, I'm trying to do the same. Nature and having that kind of gratitude to resources and people. So that's how I got it. And I see that they're very, very attracted to that. They start laughing because I give that humor element as well. And they start relating to it and they feel one with it. So that's when I realized. But that doesn't mean I make it very secular. I hate it actually. That's not the way to tell the stories. The stories are what they are. That's what I love about Indonesia as well. They just tell you that Hanuman thought Ram is his teacher, guru, God, everything. There's no. I have no shame in telling he is God. I'm just saying that at the age of 5, what would Prahlada have thought? For him,
Yeah,
Om is in the elements. So that's and they came to help as well, right? They
absolutely. Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
happened in the
Narsimha
story.
is
So let's look
everywhere,
at
especially
stories.
in Narsimha Avatar, especially, he is there everywhere. That is the
Exactly,
idea.
right, right. So I break down. So the building blocks I break down and I give it to the audience according. But again, if I were to translate that story to an adult or to somebody in middle age and somebody who's looking at an aspect of divinity to come to aid when they have the suffering. Yes, we can translate the story to that. So we can change. Like basically, that's the thing about. Yeah, I'm a vegetarian, but I'll tell you something. So these stories are like, let's say, like a piece of flesh, like chicken or mutton. The just the bone part of it is the story, but all around it, the flesh part of it is the essence, right? So that is what we need from the stories. The basic storyline is the same, but what are we getting out of it? And of course, the age and the kind of. But I'm not saying the children don't know anything. No, they have profound wisdom. It's just that your stage of life, at what point, what are we looking at? So like I'll give you another example a little while later to give this breakdown aspect of storytelling. So anyway, for now, yes, as you said, Prahlada and Narsimha is a very beautiful example of that.
Because even in music, they say that when you learn the kritis, you learn it at a very young age. But the same
Yes,
kriti has different meaning when you sing it at 20 or when you sing it, when you are singing it in your middle ages,
that's
the
true. That's true.
there's a totally different sentiment.
That is
It's the same thing, and for most of the kriti, we don't know the context.
that
It
is
is
true.
from the storytelling is from the perspective of both the teller, you, and the listener. So you're right in the sense that a 5-year-old listening to this story will see it from his, worldview and his experiences with the real world. So
Yeah.
that's a
I agree about the music. I've been learning from the age of 3 or 4, in fact. So my over enthusiastic mom, thanks to her. So yes, when you sing songs like Rave and in Telugu also, right? Some of the varnas and kritis. It's like asking a man to come to you. It probably doesn't make sense. But then at
Mm.
every stage, it's very different. There is romance, there is spirituality, there is bhava, bhakti. There are so many aspects. You're right. Yes. So let us then see an aspect of a story more than music, because the topic is storytelling. Let us say Sundarakand,
Mm.
Hanuman crossing the ocean. So this Hanuman crossing the ocean can be translated to absolutely everybody at every stage.
Mm.
So the kind of hurdles that he gets. To begin with is his Kundalini awakening, and how at every stage, those hurdles are related to your chakras and all that. But keeping it one side, let us see how it translates to, in general, for children and young adults. This is really interesting. If you, I mean, Hanuman is my favorite topic. He's the
Mhm.
quintessential child, or he's the quintessential spirited being. Okay. So that's why let's just say this is the simplest and the quickest example that I can give. So Hanuman, let's say, encounters three demons, demonesses, ogresses. He's a brahmachari. So you see this aspect of
Mhm.
the women augurs in itself a challenge, and how each one. So for a little child, though it's very entertaining, but also in a deeper level, it's working on their psychology. So the first one actually checks whether, see, this is the nature of a problem. The first
Mm.
one that he encounters, Sursa, mind you, she's not a demoness, she's a goddess in the form of a demoness.
Mm.
So, right. So that means this is the nature of a problem. The problem
Mm.
appears to be like a demon, but no, it actually comes and helps you to become the hero of your story.
Mm.
Okay, so it's actually a goddess disguised, isn't it, as a demoness.
Mm.
Okay, then what does she do? She just challenges. She says, "You have to enter my mouth and go." And he says, "Please, I'm on a really quick timeline. I have to go and come back. Can I just go, come back?" He tries to evade it, which we do. We try to evade a problem. But sorry, Brahma ordained that you must pass through. She says that. So that means we have to go through a problem. Only then you can transcend the problem and go to your next goal. Right. So he does. How does he do it? He tries to grow bigger, which we try to do. We all do that. And then he comes back, and then a very simple mind game, like it is, goes and comes out of her mouth and leaves. Okay. So she's impressed, and she says she's actually giving him wishes and says, "You can do it." That was
Mm.
just a test to say, "Oh, you have more capability." So these are all the
Mm.
different ways to understand the character itself. And then he goes on to the next one. She catches the shadow. And this is where you have to leave your identity. After a point in life, "Sorry, I am so and so, I have worked with Prime Minister." No, 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 no. You just drop your
Mm.
identity, start from scratch again. And that's probably so everything. And then Hanuman goes to the altitude where no man has ever gone, they say. That's one of the other aspects. So these are all, you can translate it to your own journey in life. And I could relate it to a 5-year old, a 10-year old, a 15-year old, a 20-year-old. So Mainaka Parvata asking to, just take a break and go. There's so many things you can. It could be drugs for the young ones.
Mm.
Sorry, that's not the age for you, right? Somebody who's doing 10th grade exams. This story beautifully relates to their journey of a 10th grader, or somebody
Mm.
who wants to crack and just finish PhD. At a point, you feel it's not happening. It's just
Mm.
not happening. You want to leave it, right? And even Hanuman went through depression. First, he saw, of course, Mandodari, thought it was Sita, confusion and kind of
Mm.
delusions. Everything you can relate every aspect of a character or a story, and then translate it, of course, to your stage of life. More than age, I would say the stage in which you are. So that way it's entertaining. And as I said, in future, when you need it, the lesson will come to you.
Mm. Yesterday, actually, somebody was saying that for especially for youth, for every problem that they can potentially face, IKS has a solution. And so he's saying this today's youth without IKS is like Hanuman without Rama. So it would be, you would be totally defenseless to face these problems if you did not have, if like Hanuman, for him, Sri Rama was everything. So he's saying this IKS is like that for the youth of today. They should use it to deal with any kind of challenge that they face today.
That's right. That is right. In fact, the attitude itself, now that you mentioned Rama, so when Hanuman steps off from Mahendragiri Parvata just to go and search for Lanka, he says,
Mm.
I'm like Rama's arrow.
Mm.
My guru's ordinance it is that I'm sent for this task. So, how beautifully there is Bhagavad Gita and the aspects of the entire IKS. Like, see, you have to understand that we are here with guidance and with inner guidance. I'm not exactly saying you should have a guru. Your inner guidance. There is a higher intelligence which is driving us, and the sankalpa bala, right? Happy journey, we say. How many of us really feel that somebody is wishing that so that you go to your destination safely, right? This also somebody like beautifully explained to me once. It is sankalpa bala. In
Mm.
India, we realize that one of the mentors actually made me realize this. So it is not just I am going and coming back. No, I have made up my mind to go, come back successfully, safely, and in one piece. So things like that. So the attitude, the correct attitude is really important for today's youth. And before we would set up any vocational, the centers and all,
Mm.
my emphasis will be on mental health and this talking about attitude, the mental health, well-being, and aspects of that. Having the right kind of attitude is very important for the youth. Yeah,
A lot of this wisdom is crystallized in the chanting of mantras that we do. Like for Hanuman, we say Buddhir Balam Yashodhara. So in that just one mantra, we have his entire all the qualities that he has and what he can endow to us. So what is the
correct.
role of these shlokas and mantras in your storytelling?
I do use very frequently mantra chanting. Um, First of all, every name is a mantra, syllable. So Sanskrit was never used for conversation. It was specifically to give some kind of, let us say, capsules. They're capsules. Okay, every name is a mantra of the deity. So there's the deity is in the mantra. Okay, now in YouTube, many people are talking about all this. There's a big team which is researching on mantras abroad, and I was trying to be a part of it, but fortunately, unfortunately, I cannot travel out of India at the moment. So I have been working with them. So mantras like there's a huge project that's happening. So mantras itself translates to various aspects of your psyche, and so the neural networks and all that. Yeah, it's very useful, especially if you can start as a child. Okay. So now coming back in the storytelling, when we understand why the name itself, like we spoke about Sundarakanda, Sundara was the name of Hanuman at his birth, and how beautifully that is, because that is the beauty of a human existence and life itself. We are all Sundara. Okay, so again, yes, Hanuman is Karya Siddhi, and even Sita herself says that um, he is somebody who makes impossible possible. So Hanuman is the child in us. The child always says, I can do it. Never, never will any child say, I can't. As children, we all thought we can be an astronaut, we can be maybe a truck driver, to this, to that, like whatnot. So, yeah, that yes. And I give it in the form of songs. So, music, mantra, and storytelling. So, we weave those together and that stays on. So, if somebody says, what's the takeaway? Takeaway is the mantra, takeaway is the song. Um, very simple songs and very catchy tunes, and they're melodious. Some aesthetics. We have to give some
Hmm.
aesthetics. I mean, I come in some,
Hmm.
like you and I dress up like a regular, some hoodie. Who would want to watch? There's some aesthetic element to our life as well, and it's very important. So anyway, I think mantra itself is another topic that we can talk. I don't want to start off something and then stop in the middle. Mm, so names of the characters are very important. So when I do my stories, um, like the mantras or the aspect of the character, what is the highlight of, let's say, Narsimha Avtara or Varaha? I think most recently, what I watched, Kantara movie, right? So it's about the Varaha Avtara, the earth. The whole theme was about earth. It's also about the land dispute, right? And it's a very beautiful story because I love anthropology and tribals and these topics. So here we talk about the grossness, the gross. Earth is the grossest of the five elements, and so is Varaha, one of the earlier avatars. Um, it is. It's pretty interesting how the mantras are also like the way they chant. And even the names of Rakshasas, Pichuna, Krodha, who names those things in today's world? But yes, they had that kind of importance. So when you say it, there is that. So I'm talking about a person who has done a particular sin or some kind of wrong thing, and then how he was punished. The story sits in the brain, or even little more deeper, and in the subconscious and the unconscious. So this is also unconscious learning that's happening. So talking of mantras, there it is, that aspect of learning which is happening to everybody, all of us, not just children. So yeah, in a gist, I just wanted to touch up everything, whether it's gods or the demons. We just, the Sanskrit words are very important. So I do not change them to the English. I use it as is. Yeah.
What are the time frames for these sessions today? We're talking about span of attention, and people are, because of the
Mm.
digital overload,
Yeah.
people's interest and their ability to focus, concentration, everything has reduced, especially in children. So, what is
True.
do you think is the optimal time that these stories sessions happen?
Right. So I'm not joking, but these 30 seconds YouTube shorts have made people's attention span into 30 seconds. However, the power of storytelling, the power of the stories itself, it goes beyond the storyteller. I really don't think it's about a storyteller's capacity to entice someone. No, it's the power of the story in itself. There is a power. I have generally seen about 45 minutes is the span. And if they're really younger ones, you can divide it into three different stories, otherwise, two huge stories. My general pattern is one big, one medium, one small. Um, but however, try to relate it to the same theme, because your mind is going in one track. So give it the same, just go deeper. So it's like digging otherwise different wells, right? So instead, if we can pick a similar, if not the same, the similar topic, but three different stories. Let's say naughty children is my topic. I mean, I wouldn't say the topic. In my mind, the theme is naughty. I would talk about Hanuman and Ganesha and Krishna, the three superheroes for any child. Talk about the aspect where they were naughty, but then it was the the inner meaning was to help somebody, or Krishna stole butter because he wanted to tell some kind of I want to share it with my friends aspect, or if it is Ganesha who is teaching a lesson to someone because humility aspect. So You can touch upon similar themes, but 45 minutes, I would say, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as a final question, maybe what are your current projects and your current interests? How is life?
Um, right. So while in Indonesia, I was trying to work on a specific topic where we were looking at Hindu Muslim communication pattern. Okay. So there I chose a couple of mantras like Om Shanti Shanti is recited by everybody. And then let's say Gayatri mantra is played at every 6, 12, and 6. Like Trikala Sandhya, they call, right? And so, how does that translate into communication patterns across the religions as well? So, that was the topic there. And the symbol itself, you'd be surprised to know the Om in Balinese looks like Ganesha. The Om. I mean, I can't show you, but you can Google it. So, the
Mm-hmm.
Om letter of the alphabet, of Balinese
Yeah.
alphabet, looks like Ganesha. So, of course, Ganesha is a symbol more than anything else. So, the symbolism behind was also one of the study, aspects. So that was one. I mean, using the sociological aspects and the communication aspects of Orbis theory and all that. Anyway, that's the framework is different, but I'm just talking about what was the gist of it. And then later I started working with somebody on mantras itself. So mantras and what they translate to. um, However, I'm not at the moment not working because I had to travel to Europe, and which is not possible. So that's stalled for now. But that mantras project is also happening in Europe. So it's already in progress. Maybe for the second stage, I can join them. Now, where we can use amulets, we can use other aspects of mantras. Just like I mean, itself, it's again, it's a vast ocean. So Sanskrit mantras, Sabari mantras. So there are the local deities, all those. It's interesting. And apart from that, as I said, more than 64 arts. So how do we translate kalas or the vocational aspect of IKS, and how does it help the Indian youth? Let's say the 13 to 21-year-old. That's mostly the target. We could say 11 now. These days, are also pretty smart. So I would just say, in general, my current or my eternal project would be about mental health and well-being. That's the most important aspect of. See, I would just end this particular answer with a little story. There was a boy, 17, 18-year-old, who went and submitted his work. He had written Kadambari. Now, you all know about Kadambari, so I had to just say it out. So he showed it to the king of Ujjain, and everybody mocked him, and they said, it's crass, it's really bad. And it is like, in Telugu, we call kallu, toddy, right? Kadambari means toddy, and it is toddy, tasteless as well, and useless, and just get rid of it. And he was devastated because he probably put 2, 3 years of hard work, and he probably also believed that it was something unique. So he went and just burnt it. Today's youth, I would think, like, would just kill themselves or like go into some substance abuse or something like that for being put down at that kind of stage of your venture. Okay. So then, after a couple of days, just about 2 days later, Kalidasa comes and says, "Hey, you know what? I loved your work. Can you please show it?" I said, "I just burnt it down." Kalidasa says, "Don't worry. I remember every word of it. I'll tell it and you write it down." That's how we have Kadambari today. But otherwise, it would have gone. Okay. So this was the first novel in the world. There was no genre. It was supposed to be a poem, but long one with themes and sub themes like The Wasteland. So finally, it came. and it started a new genre in itself,
Hmm.
novel. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that is what I want to do, or I want all of us to do. Tell the youth, or tell, it's okay to be different. Like, in fact, they're so brilliant, they're so different. Let us not put them down to begin with. But even if somebody does believe in yourself, or believe that it is very unique, the world is not able to understand. That's all. At the moment, the world is not able to understand what you're trying to contribute. So, but how do we do that? Stories, Puranas, Itihasas. Got the till the ending, it was fine. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much for such a beautiful conversation. Really, really amazing. So I think a
Thank you. Thank you.
lot of things that I have learned, and I'm sure our audiences also, in terms of modern storytelling with ancient themes, ancient motives, and how we can adapt it to day living.
Right. Thank you. Thanks for your beautiful questions. So,
Thank you so much. Yeah, I hope we can continue these conversations.
sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.